Now, here's an interesting conundrum for brands. Often they switch off at 5 p.m., their office hours, but at the same time, their internet or their web pages are also switching off. What then is the consequence for brands and the relationship with consumers? Some views on that from Petra Liu, who's MD at Wet Paint Advertising. A very warm welcome, Petra. Thanks for joining us today. Is this a common problem?
Yes, it is. People believe that when they switch off and they go home for the day, so do everybody else. But the interesting fact is that when people come home after a long day, they go onto social media, and that's when they have their free time, and that's when they start surfing and looking for information.
So what should brands be doing in that respect? I mean, you're not suggesting, for instance, that someone sits in the office all night responding to queries online, or are you? I don't know.
Well, it depends on the type of product or service that you have, but that may work very well for you, because content actually changes in the evening, and so does your audience. So you have to be aware of what audiences actually are looking for at that time. As we know on TV and radio, content changes from day to the evening. So why doesn't the content change on your social media pages in the evening?
All emblematic of the 24-hour global economy that exists these days. But I'm interested when you say the content changes and also the audience changes. How does that environment broadly change then? What work have you done in that respect?
Well, we've seen that it is a younger audience in the evening. The older audience is still active, but the younger audience seems to be a lot more active, specifically during peak prime time viewership of TV. You'll see a lot of people actually talking about the shows that they're watching. So it gives brands the opportunities to perhaps look at sponsorships to actually tie into what people are talking about online at those times.
It's not only that, it's also the tonality of the messaging,
Absolutely,
I would imagine, that needs to change as well. How does a brand get that right? How do you think around that?
Well, the way people speak is a lot more relaxed. The Queen's English starts going for a ball of chalk. So you need to find a medium that your business can actually sit within that type of tone and the way you speak. Obviously, you can't force your brand to be young and funky if you're not. You need to actually find the medium. So your strategy needs to change, and the way that you write up your content during that time needs to change. And you need to align your business and your resources to actually work accordingly.
Is it markedly different, though, in terms of copy and imaging, or is it just a subtle tweak here or there? In other words, after 5 p.m. at night, do you have to redevelop an entire look and feel for that web page?
Yes, absolutely.
As serious as that?
Yes, yes. If you think about it, people have a lot more time on their hands. So you've got the opportunity to actually really increase your tone, as well as what you can get out of your audience. You can actually learn a lot about them because they've got the time to actually respond. So you'll have the opportunity to play games, run polls, do questionnaires, and actually get a lot more insight into what your audience is after and what they like and don't like about your brand.
Surely you've got to balance that change against the cost, though.
If you've got a business that offers services that do run 24 hours. Say, for instance, you've got a taxi service, or you're a service provider of some sort that would actually run through the night. It would make sense, especially to cover your PR. People love to complain, and during free time in the evenings, that's when they're going to be going up onto social media and saying, well, this person did this to me, and I was on the phone to this service provider and they did that. And all hell can break loose during that period. No one's in the office, no one's even aware of it. The next morning, you've got a PR crisis on your hands that you're not prepared for.
So many companies that are not geared up for this 24-hour economy that you're talking about.
Absolutely.
So
it's a problem that we face in South Africa.
I mean, is anybody making a reasonable stab in that direction?
There are a few brands that have realized that it actually services them very well and have started this type of 24-hour opportunity on their platforms.
And to your detriment, I would imagine, these days, if you don't get that right. You've really got to start thinking in that direction.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for joining us, Petra Liu from Wet Paint Advertising.
Thank you.
A very interesting insight into a problem, I think, that not too many people are necessarily aware of. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Pleasure.